A military training base. Over 1,000 troops watching. A Navy SEAL, 6'3" of pure muscle and ego, thinks he can put his hands on a woman half his size. What he didn't know, she'd been waiting her whole life to teach someone like him a lesson. This is the story of Chief Petty Officer Marcus Bennett and the Marine instructor who reminded him that rank doesn't equal respect and size doesn't equal strength. Camp Pendleton, California. Summer of 2019. The sun beat down on the parade ground where 1,040 service members had gathered for joint combat readiness training. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, all branches, all backgrounds, united under one flag. Staff Sergeant Elena Rodriguez stood at the front, clipboard in hand, directing the flow of personnel. At 5'6" and 135 pounds, she didn't look like much to those who judged by appearances. But Elena had earned her place the hard way. 12 years in the Marines, 3 deployments, a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and a reputation for taking zero nonsense from anyone. That morning, she was coordinating a massive equipment transfer. Vehicles needed to be repositioned, gear allocated, personnel organized into training groups. It was controlled chaos, and Elena was the calm center of the storm. Then Chief Petty Officer Marcus Bennett arrived. Marcus was everything Elena had learned to be wary of in her career. He stood 6'3", weighed 220 pounds of muscle, and wore his Navy SEAL trident like a crown. He completed BDS training, survived Hell Week, and apparently decided that gave him the right to treat everyone else like they were beneath him. "You're in the wrong staging area," Elena told him, her voice professional but firm. "SEALs are in Section C. This is Section A." Marcus looked her up and down with barely concealed contempt. "I'll stand wherever I want, sweetheart." "Do you know who I am?" Elena had heard this song before. Different verse, same tired chorus. "I know exactly who you are, Chief, and I know where you're supposed to be. Section C that way." She pointed across the field. Marcus didn't move. "Maybe you didn't hear me," he said, stepping closer, using his size to intimidate. "I'm a Navy SEAL. That means I outrank your little clipboard authority." The troops nearby started to notice. Conversations died down. Heads turned. "Chief Bennett, your rank doesn't override my assignment as operations coordinator for this training exercise," Elena replied, her voice level. "I'm asking you once more to move to your designated area." Marcus smirked. "And I'm telling you once more, I don't take orders from some desk jockey with a Marine Corps bumper sticker." He reached out and grabbed her clipboard, yanking it from her hands. "Why don't you go file this somewhere and let the real warriors handle the real work?" The air changed. Every service member within earshot was watching now. This wasn't just disrespect. This was a line being crossed. Elena held out her hand. "Give me back my clipboard, Chief." "Make me," Marcus said, holding it above his head like a schoolyard bully. Elena's jaw tightened. She'd given him every chance, every opportunity to walk away with his dignity intact. But some people only learn through consequences. "Chief Bennett, you have 3 seconds to return my property and move to your designated area." Marcus laughed. "Or what? You gonna cry to your commanding officer? 1. This is adorable. 2. What are you gonna do, sweetheart?" And then, in the single worst decision of his military career, Marcus put his hand on Elena's shoulder and shoved her, not hard enough to knock her down, just enough to make a point, just enough to establish dominance, just enough to humiliate her in front of over 1,000 witnesses, just enough to give Elena legal justification for what came next. 3 things happened in the next 2.3 seconds. First, Elena's hand snapped up and grabbed Marcus's wrist in a grip that made his smirk falter. Second, she pivoted her hip and dropped her weight. Third, she used Marcus's own size and momentum against him in a textbook judo throw that sent all 220 pounds of Navy SEAL arrogance crashing to the ground with a sound that echoed across the entire parade ground. Marcus hit the dirt so hard that dust exploded around him. The impact knocked the wind from his lungs and the clipboard from his hand. Elena wasn't done before Marcus could even process what happened. Elena had transitioned to a joint lock, her knee pressed against his shoulder blade. His arm bent at an angle that was painful, but not quite injurious. She put him face down in the California dirt in front of 1,040 troops. And she'd done it in less time than it took most people to blink. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Elena leaned down, her voice calm and clear enough for everyone nearby to hear. "You're right. Chief, you are a Navy SEAL, which means you should know better than to put your hands on anyone without their permission. Now, are you going to Section C? Or do you need help getting there?" Marcus's face was red, whether from rage, embarrassment, or the pressure on his arm. "Get off me," he hissed. "Answer the question, Chief." "I'm going." "I'm going?" Elena released him and stood, picking up her clipboard like nothing had happened. Marcus scrambled to his feet, dirt covering his uniform. His pride shattered like glass on concrete. Here's what happened next. Marcus filed a complaint. Elena was investigated. And then something beautiful occurred. 17 witnesses from all branches of service came forward with statements. They described exactly what they saw: harassment, intimidation, physical aggression, and a proportional response from an instructor defending herself. The investigation cleared Elena completely. Marcus received a formal reprimand and was removed from the joint. Training exercise, Doc, but the real story isn't about who won or lost that confrontation. It's about respect. It's about the fact that rank, title, and physical size mean nothing if you don't treat people with dignity. Marcus learned the hard way what Elena already knew. Strength isn't about how much you can bench press or how tough your training was. Strength is about character. It's about standing up for yourself without tearing others down. It's about knowing when to use force and when to use words. Elena never bragged about that day. She didn't have to. Her actions spoke loud enough. And Marcus, according to people who served with him afterward, he became a lot more humble. Sometimes the best teachers are the ones who humble us when we need it most. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. What's a moment when someone underestimated you and you proved them wrong? Drop your story in the comments below. And subscribe to Soul Relief Stories for more real-life tales of courage, justice, and redemption. Remember, respect isn't demanded. It's earned.